Welcome to your Phase 3 video training. This training will focus on the provider's needs and setting up things like the Google Calendar sync feature, adding in a provider signature, customizing macro SOAP notes, and taking a look at the provider dashboard so we can give you a brief overview of what it would look like when patients are coming into the office. To set up the Google Calendar sync feature, we're going to go to Admin, select our provider button. We're going to select the provider that we want to work on, hit Edit, and go to the Calendar Sync tab. The Calendar Sync feature allows a provider to set up his or her Google Calendar with the Katana software, so appointments that are scheduled for that specific provider will get transferred over to their Google Calendar. It is HIPAA compliant as it will not show the patient's name. It will only show a reason of visit of why that patient was scheduled and the amount of time allotted for that specific appointment. This is really helpful if an office is cluster booking or a provider needs to see when they should be back from lunch and things like that. But you do have the ability, once the appointment is sent to your Google Calendar, to edit that appointment and select in a patient's name or anything that may be needed to reference that appointment. And each provider will need to have their own Gmail account associated, as we cannot set up all providers on one Gmail email. So if you would like to share your calendar with another provider, you would actually have to do that on the back end with Google. To set this up, I'm going to hit the Create Token button. It'll bring open a window asking what Gmail email you would like to use. If the Gmail email is not presented in the list, you can go ahead and select Use Another Account, enter that Gmail email information, and enter the password. Because the Gmail email I would like to use is listed, I'm going to go ahead and select the specific Gmail account. And once you get to this window, you would just select Allow. Once you receive the notification stating receive verification code, you may close the window. You can just X out of this tab. And now Google verification set will go from no to yes, and then you will select the box that states publish this provider's appointments to his or her Google Calendar and select save. From this moment forward, any scheduled appointments will be sent to the Google Calendar. I definitely suggest setting this up sooner than later, because if you have a series of appointments already scheduled, they will not get carried over to your Google Calendar unless they are rescheduled. The next thing I would like to address is how to import your provider signature. To do this, you will sign your name to a white blank piece of paper, scan it into your computer, and have the document saved. Once the document is saved, you will find the specific document housing your signature, right-click it, and select Open with Paint. Once that document is opened, you can select the Select option. Use the tool to highlight the provider signature and select Crop. This prevents all the background noise of your white sheet of paper to be added to your documents that you are creating for your patients to send out. Once you have your signature the way you would like, go ahead and hit Save and close out the screen. Now we're going to move back over to our provider, hit Edit, select the Signature tab, select Import an image to use as the signature, select the Import button, select our signature that we did crop, and hit Open. This will bring up your signature on the window, and you can go ahead and hit Save. We do also have an option to where you can sign the signature capture pad with your mouse, but I do not recommend using that option as it does happen to make the signature look more distorted, and the most reliable method would be to import the image. Once you're finished, hit save, and then now your signature is tied to your specific provider. So if any documentation templates are used to create documents in a patient's file, then it will present your signature if it's been told to do so. Now that we've completed setting up the Google Calendar sync and the signature for the provider, I'm going to move on to macros. I'm going to close out my window. I'm going to go over to my patient Rolodex, and I'm going to find the test patient. Every database has a test patient file that support use during customization to make sure your sending abilities were set up and things like that. So you can always use that patient to play around with the software and to access a completed appointment to set up your macros. The reason for this is because you cannot access the macros panel unless you're going into an actual patient's appointment. So I'm going to double click my patient. I'm going to go over to the appointments tab. I'm going to find a completed appointment, and you will notice that because it will be indicated under the status as completed, and hit review. Once my appointment screen comes up, you'll see all the different panels that you have available to customize your appointment screen. If you would like to move around any of the panels, you are more than welcome to do so. This was also covered in the Phase 2 training video. You can make panels larger or slimmer based on moving around columns. You can drag and drop information to different locations, and you have the ability to go to the panels area at the top left and grab anything that may not be present. If you see a check mark next to a panel option, that does mean that it is somewhere on your screen. So if I wanted my images area to be fixated on the screen because it's currently on a slide, I can hit this little push pin that adds it to my screen. I can grab the blue header of that panel and move it around, and I'll start seeing little windows that present itself to indicate where it would drop if I let go of my mouse. If I decide that I do not want something on my screen, I can go ahead and select the X to get rid of it, but it's always available in your panel section. Or if I do want to put something on a slide, I can hit the little push pin and put it back. That just means that I have to hover my mouse over it to get it to open. Now going back to macros, you can see that I have several options available as far as column headers, but I'm unable to see the written type because I don't have enough real estate to give me that information. So I'm actually going to move my listings and put it on a slide so I can get rid of it and give myself some more room to work with. Every provider is provided this specific template, which is the master V8 template that support uses during trainings and Facebook Lives and things like that, as this template has a whole bunch of different studies on it, allowing you to choose what works best for you. Now, keep in mind that you don't even have to use this template if you don't like it. You can get templates from other providers and customize your very own. So if you do see a template that you want to work with and you've taken a look at these and you can see that there's some buttons missing in here where not all buttons were used, or you want to create your own and start grabbing some of this information, you definitely can. You can always create new columns by going to your settings wheel at the very top, or go to the green CoAction symbol and hit settings. Once this window comes up, you'll see the different button categories. If there's some things maybe like Nutrition Pro and that doesn't apply, and so you want to get rid of every button associated with that category, you can select it and hit delete, and that will remove it from your template. If you would like to add a new category, where maybe you're going to grab some of the buttons from each individual category to make a perfect category, you can select Add, give your title a name, tell the system how many columns and how many rows you would like, and this indicates to the system how many buttons should be added. Once you've made your selections, go ahead and select OK, and that's going to add it to the list on the back end. You also have the ability to add a body view if you would like to your main macro screen, and that would be done by just simply hitting Show on Startup. Once you've made your selections, go ahead and hit Save, but you can see that the body does take up a lot of real estate, and you have the ability also to add a body to a specific macro button. So maybe you still want to use it, but you don't want to see it right here when you're treating a patient. So if I want to remove it, again, I'm going to go to Settings, uncheck Show on Startup, and hit OK to get rid of that option. Now, if you would like to add to a specific category, you can do so by selecting an open button, select Standard Macro, and then start customizing this button. I'm just going to give it a test name. I'm going to say I want it to go into my subjective area, and then I'm going to fill out the written text. You also have data insert areas where you can do a free text option within your macro button. You can do a number source. Maybe you want to do a pain rating of 1 through 10. You can do a single choice option where you're telling the system all of the different choices that may be possible, but you're only able to select one. You can do a randomization where you're entering in statements that all mean the same thing. So this patient came in and said they feel better. Then you would add that as an option, and then the patient feels better. Add that as an option, and then again state something to the nature of the patient came in and stated that they feel better at this time. This way, the system would know what option to choose based on their previous data service, because it will always randomize those different options, making it appear like a new note has been done. You can do a date. So if you want to indicate when an accident took place, you can have your macro bring up a calendar, so that way you can select that specific date to be entered into your macro notes. You can do multiple choice, where it's very similar to the single choice, where you're entering in numerous options, but it gives you the ability to select multiple. You can do body parts, as I mentioned before, where a body part actually, or a body view actually comes up, and then you would select the different areas on the body to add that to your macro notes. And you also have the ability to do patient info. This information comes from their file, so it will bring forward their patient name, making it more personal, their case name if you decide, Mr. or Mrs., his or her in capitals, he, she, and then again, he or she in capitals if it's the beginning of the sentence. And again, it comes from their patient file. If in the event you see it generate something that says his or her, that indicates that their gender was not specified in their patient file. So I'm just going to enter in some information that I would like associated with this button. So now, because I'm talking about a pain level, I will go ahead and add the number. I'm going to give this caption a name, so it would just be pain rating. A minimum value, so I'll say 0, max value of 10, and I'll select OK. Now this knows to bring that forward when this button is pressed. I can end it here, or I can add some additional information, providing some different choices. But once I'm finished, I will go ahead and select OK. This will bring forward my button. If I want to add a color to my button, I can right-click it, change the color to whatever I would like it to be. And if I want to edit my note, after I've right-clicked that button, I would select the macro link to this button and hit edit on the bottom right. And this will bring up the meat and potatoes of my button. So that way I can add any additional information, maybe change some spelling errors, do anything that I need to do to make this button exactly the way I would like. Once I'm done customizing that, I can hit OK. And then I will select this notes mode button so I can go back to using my button. To test it, I'm going to select the button. It's going to bring open this window that says pain rating. I'm going to say they have a pain rating of 6, hit forward, and then it's going to actually tell me that my patient came in today stating that their pain level is a 6. Every single one of the buttons that you have available to you can also be customized, even if they were done by someone else. So we'll go to this C1 button. If I right-click it, again, I select C1, hit edit, and then it's going to tell me everything that's inside that button so I can get comfortable with my buttons. The reason you're seeing this button spaced where the writing starts one drop down below is so that way it actually spaces between the previous note. So something would be coming before I would actually press this button, giving it that ability, like I said, to space out and look properly when you are actually using your macro soap notes. I definitely suggest going through these buttons so that way you know exactly what's inside and then adding anything you need to that may be missed, or you can change some verbiage if maybe the prior doctor that made these macro templates used a different verbiage than what you're used to. You can always change it to make it your own, and you can always add to these choices. So like in this case, this one says choose ASR, ASL, AIR, so on and so forth. If there was another one that I needed to add, I could go right to the end before the description, put in another semicolon, and add in my new option. This tells the system that there's another option available. You'll just need to make sure that you're watching those colons and things that are being placed in, and make sure that they are properly placed in so you don't have a big run-on and basically break that macro button. If I want to remove an option, I would just find the end of it and get rid of everything that's associated. So now it's just those selections I would like. Once I'm finished, I'll hit OK. If I happen to see buttons that I want to add to my new column, I can go to that specific category. Maybe I like this adjustment button. I can grab it during this drag and drop mode, bring it right over to the top, and let go. That will add the button here, but it also remains on that prior category that it was originally housed. This gives you the ability to create your buttons exactly the way you want, and be able to take a little bit from every one of the categories, make one of your own, and then you can go to your settings wheel once you're finished and get rid of all of those other categories so you have just what you want and it's specific to your clinic. If you happen to have a provider that gave you a macro template that you would like to use, you can import that macro template by coming over to your green CoAction symbol, go to import template from file, and that will bring that specific macro template forward once it has been saved onto your computer. If you're going to customize what you have been given and you just want to take a look at what another provider has or has provided, you would want to export your specific template to file, give your file a name, and save it, because once you import another provider's macro template, it will override what you currently have. So if you don't like it and you did not export it, we will not have your changes that were made, because support only has the specific template that we provided you with the options that were already given. There is also another video in regards to customizing your macro templates done by Dr. Lacey that is housed within your customizing macro soap note article. So I definitely suggest you checking that one out as well, so you can have all the information needed when creating your macros to fit your specific needs. Also, you are more than welcome to reach out to support, so that way, if you have a specific need for your macros, maybe you're coming over from another software and you have macros built there and you want to get them into your software, you can always, like I said, reach out to support and we can aid in showing you how to get those macros in. We can't do a direct import, but we can try to take a look at your macros, see if maybe a copy and paste option or something of that nature would help, so that way you can get that data into Katana. Now that we're finished discussing the macros area, I'm going to check out of my patient appointment and I'm going to move over to our provider dashboard. To do so, I'm going to select on providers within your Katana toolbar. And this is going to show you what your provider dashboard will look like. All scheduled appointments will be displayed for the provider to see under the scheduled appointments category. Once a scheduled appointment is checked in, the patient has arrived, the front desk will move them over to the specific arrived and waiting category. So you can see how it looks. I'm going to pop over to the appointment dashboard and check that patient in. Now I'm going to pop back over to the provider dashboard so you can see that the patient has actually moved to the arrived and waiting category. This notifies the doctor that the patient is in the office, they're in the waiting room, but they have not been placed into a specific room or area. Popping back over to the appointment dashboard, if I check this patient in, I'm going to say they're going to adjustment room 2 and hit save. If I pop back over to the provider dashboard, it will move the patient over, as it just did, indicating to the provider where that patient was placed for treatment. For the provider to treat this patient, all they have to do is double-click the appointment sitting in the being treated and in process area, come into their appointment, and in mine, you can see that some information was carried over from a previous visit. I have the ability to remove everything in here by either highlighting and hitting my delete button. But if I want to get rid of everything in here, I can simply hit this red X, which will remove that information. And then I can go over to my specific macros and start adding that information in. I also have the ability to free text in this area. So if I have to just make a quick note, I can definitely do so. I could enter in all the ICDs. If information is being carried over from visit to visit, you would see it presented, and then you can add to the specific list, which it was letting me know that there was some that were already there. If any changes need to take place, I can also click on any of these ICD codes that are being displayed and hit the red X to the far right to remove it from my options. I can go over to edit charges, and again, if it's selected to do so in your price list to carry over from visit to visit, you would actually see that information presented here. If those options did change, so maybe instead of having an adjustment 1 to 2 regions, maybe it was a 3 to 4 region adjustment, I can X out of that charge, go right over to office visits in my categories, select the appropriate adjustment CPT code, and make any other changes in here that I would need. You also have the ability to use these flags. These flags can be placed on a specific appointment, so that way you can indicate that there may be something that didn't get completed. Katana does not indicate what those specific flags are and what those colors are. You get to decide what those colors mean in your office. So maybe you can see obviously that I entered in soap notes, but maybe I didn't get a chance to because I was running behind. I can select the specific color associated with missing CPT codes, hit save, and now that flag has been attached to that specific appointment. So you don't have to remember what patients needed, what information. You would actually be notified based on the flag. You'll also see that the patient's information has been changed from black to blue. This indicates that you were into the appointment and you have made some changes and saved. So now when I pop back over to the appointment dashboard, the front desk also sees that the font is now blue, so they know they can go ahead and initiate the appointment to take any payments, add in any write-offs, do anything that they need to do, or just confirm that you entered in everything for that specific appointment. And if they notice that maybe charges weren't entered or ICD codes weren't entered, they can place in the specific flag associated with that missing information. And once they're done with the patient, they would hit checkout. That would actually move the patient to the completed column, finalizing them for the day. You can still see the flag associated with that patient because we didn't do what was needed to remove that flag. So if I go back over to our provider dashboard, you no longer see the patient because they are checked out. But if I go to this bottom right corner where I indicate a specific range of days, so I can either do a range of days if maybe I'm trying to clean up my patient appointments at the end of the week, or I can do a specific day, so on and so forth. I would hit search once I've selected it, and any patient that has a flag would actually be presented here. So that way you can double click the appointment, bring them up again, enter in whatever was missing, and then take the flag back to none, check out. I can run my search again, and now that patient is gone. Lastly, before we complete this video, I just wanted to highlight support. If you ever need support for any reason, you have any questions, you want support to take a look at anything that's going on, every user that logs into Katana has the ability to access the support portal button. This support portal button will bring open a web page that will allow you to access any of support's training articles, videos, anything that support has. You can go to the respected category, find what you're looking for, or you can simply type in what it is that you're looking for. Once you enter in that keyword, it's going to bring up anything associated with that specific search. You would find what you're looking for, and you can actually see the specific article, walkthroughs, and images, so you know exactly how to perform the tasks that you're trying to do. If you're just wanting to contact support, in any of the windows that you're in within this guide, you will see a chat button. You would just simply hit the chat button, enter in your name, enter in your email, and enter in the message as far as what you're needing help with from support. Once I enter my message, I'm going to select the Start Chat button. Once I select the Start Chat button, you can hear that we are notified that you have come on. And now you are a live chat that we are actually going to take. Once a representative has seen your chat, as you can see, a representative has now picked up our session, so you are actually talking to a direct rep anytime you do this chat. Live chat is available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and if in the event it is after hours, you would be prompted to leave an email. We hope you've enjoyed your Phase 3 training, and have a great day.